If you've been playing through Elden Ring and get immediately distracted by every weapon you pick up, you've probably put points into stats that you either don't need or don't want anymore. Or perhaps you got further into the game and now you're being one-shotted by everything and you require more vigour. Well, I've got some good news for you. You can actually respec your character, and even better news, it's really not that difficult. You can find the item to allow you to respec right in the first area of the game. There's a soldier on a hill in this location that's actually a rune bear disguised, for whatever reason. Anyway, killing this bear drops a lava tear. It's a consumable item that you use to respec, so it is a one-use item. You will need to find one for each respec you want to do. So because of this, you do have a limited amount of respecs possible, as I don't believe there's a mob that actually drops this item every time you defeat it, unless it only spawns once. I'm going to quickly run to this location on the map so you can see how to get there right from the first steps grace. Feel free to skip ahead if you already have the Agheel Lake South grace, as that's the closest grace to the bear. Now you have this item, we need to unlock respecking. Slight spoilers ahead, as 2 bosses are required to be killed to obtain this item. However, they're both relatively easy, and if you followed my guide at all, you'll be more than strong enough to take them both out. The first boss is actually this red wolf, and don't worry, I will show you how to get here also in a moment. But first, a little cool fact about this little red wolf. It was actually cut content from Dark Souls 3, and for those of you who've played that, if you remember the Fahrenkeep Covenant, the wolf that kind of just sits there and doesn't do anything, that was originally supposed to be this boss. It's been repurposed and finished as some sort of major sword-wielding wolf. More info on that is actually going to be in the description, because there's this amazing channel that's dissected so many cool things about Elden Ring, and you must check out the channel, it's so cool. Anyway, if you've already seen my guide on how to get a +9 summer weapon before killing any boss, you'll already actually have the next location. We're heading back to the Magic Academy. If not, here's a quick guide to get there as fast as possible. This part contains a lot of cuts to keep the video short, but hopefully the on-screen map helps out as well. We're heading to what I call the second open area of the game. The grace is lake facing cliffs. And then from here we're actually going to head down these gravestones and try not to fall to your death like I did on the first attempt. Head north to northwest and you'll find a bunch of ruins. The furthest right ruin should contain a teleporter. When we activate it, it'll actually take us to just outside the Magic Academy. Here I'm going to run and grab the grace, and I'm going to jump off the side with my horse, saving my double jump to land on the pillar. Now we head straight west into an area called Temple Quarter until we come across a large opening where we'll find a dragon. This is actually where you get the key to actually enter the Magic Academy. It's just behind the sleeping dragon. It's the furthest item. I grab it, and then I run to the grace to try reset my aggro and teleport. We can now access this here and we enter into the Magic Academy. The run is pretty straightforward, and I grab a load of graces. You can do it if you want, you don't have to. I'm going to leave this part uncut but just sped up, so hopefully you can follow along. Once you come to this elevator, we're heading up, and then immediately over to our left is the grace that you're looking for. At this point, if you followed the guide previously, or if you're watching this one, you should all be at the same point now. There are actually many useful items in this level, especially for sorcery users, but those items are all going to be coming up in another video instead. I'm trying to keep this one short and to the point. So, run past or kill all the mages as you make your way up the several sets of stairs until you eventually find the fog gate. This wolf actually can be quite tricky for some people, as magic deals a lot of damage. But the good news, it's really squishy, it doesn't have a lot of health. And as with all bosses, I simply summon my mimic. I let it get the aggro, and I get some damage off. I'm building towards massive jump attack damage on repeat, and eventually building up blood loss with jump attacks. With the wolf down, head straight out, past the fountain, and on your right there'll be some beams to jump to. Carefully head up the stairs while avoiding the giant boulders, and yes, I said boulders, as actually there's infinite amounts of them. They just keep getting resummoned at the top of the stairs. Once through, there's actually going to be a fairly tough knight to deal with. Either kill him or just run past and immediately left, not behind where he's guarding. There's actually a door at the end of this corridor, and you can open it from this way, and that's a shortcut to get back to the boss if you don't beat it first time. So double back and either pass the knight or the knight's corpse, and instead go behind where he was guarding this time. You'll find an elevator up to the fog gate. This is the last boss we need to kill to unlock Respecking, and hopefully you do it first try, because the boss run for this one's a nightmare in my opinion. Probably one of the worst ones in Elden Ring. As far as boss runs go in this game, it's pretty good. Thankfully, we actually get to summon a mimic for this fight without any risk. This is because there's a cutscene when we get a little bit further enough in. The way to beat this is to actually kill the librarians with a gold glow around them. After 3 are dead, the boss will lose its shield and drop to the floor and become vulnerable. I actually did enough damage on the first try that we completely skipped through this phase and moved on to phase 2. However, if you're damaged a little bit lower or if you don't get as lucky as me, sometimes you've got to do a few rounds of librarian bashing. Phase 2 opens up with a huge laser, so do not run straight head on at the boss. Instead, run a little bit to the side while still closing that gap. Then it's just a case of beating the boss to death, as she's extremely easy to stagger, and once again doesn't have that much health. If the fight does go on for a bit too long, she does start summoning minions to help her, but they're actually only temporary, so you can actually just run away from them and ignore them. Once you've beaten her, you can speak to her and the rebirth option becomes available, allowing you to spend 1 level tier to respec your character. It's worth noting that you don't go down to 1 in each stat, you actually go back down to the starting stats that your class began with. If you need more level tiers, 2 more can be found from killing the mimic tier boss, of which I've already covered in a previous video, so a link to that will be in the description. Many more can actually be found from ball enemies the first time you defeat them, but to get to that area requires another boss fight and you need to follow an NPC questline, and I actually try to keep all my videos to the point, and I try to keep them spoiler free as much as possible, so what you're looking for in a video is all you learn to do. So for that reason, all of that will be covered in another video which is coming up very soon about how to max out your mimic's tier. Anyway, if this video has helped you at all, please consider liking, commenting and subscribing. Thank you very much.